$20 bill. And apparently Joe Biden has decided that he wants to put Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. I don't know if he's going, if that's our reparations check or not. But Joe Biden has made that announcement that he wants to hurry up and expeditiously, like he wants to put a hurry on that process of getting Harriet's face on the $20 bill. So joining me to discuss this issue is my all-black intellectual chocolate panel. I hope you'll take a second to say hello to them. Put your hashtag B1 in the chat. We got John F. Thomas, who is an award-winning filmmaker out of L.A. How you doing, John? Good to see you.
Hey, nice to see you all as well.
All right. We got Jeff Lightsey Jr. from the Black Boss Channel. What's going on, Jeff?
How's it going, everybody?
All right. We got the one and only Madam President. How you doing?
I'm excellent.
All right. And we got Tariq Abdul Khalik, the smartest black man in the universe. What's going on, Tariq?
Hey, y'all. What's good? What's good?
All right. And we have the amazing Dr. Charm Timms. Did I say that right? That's your last name, Charm?
Yes, you did.
Yes. And very, very smart black woman. So nice, healthy, wonderful, intelligent black people speaking tonight on this important issue. Everybody in the audience, take 1 second, hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done it. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, put your hashtag B1 in the chat if you agree that black people should come first. So let's start off. I'll start off with you, Madam President. I know that this topic got you real fired up. And so Joe Biden has basically stated that he wants to get Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill as soon as possible. That is the first agenda item that he's pushing. I don't know if this is going to be an executive order or not, but what do you think about that? What were your thoughts when you heard about this?
I am screaming on the inside, okay? I am screaming on the top of my lungs. Let me tell you something. Do you want money or do you want a picture of money? I don't care who is on that $20 bill. Run me my check, okay? And let me tell you something. Harriet Tubman spent years escaping white people, and we just gonna put her back in the hands of white people? That don't make sense to me. Not to mention that, Harriet Tubman was a woman that, who she was can't even really be summed up. A lot of people do not go into the world and have the kind of courage that this woman had so many years ago. But do you think Harriet Tubman would have stopped her progression of freedom for a $20 bill, for a picture, for a moment? This woman was about real freedom. She was not about let me just go ahead and get free by myself. Let me go ahead and hang out with folks by myself. Let me live somewhere else by myself. She wanted her people included. So you cannot pay homage to Harriet Tubman and do not pay homage to her children by giving them reparations, giving them something tangible. We do not need any more symbols of freedom. We need the real deal, okay? We are tired of playing these games with white supremacy and white America. There is no black person on this planet that will get enough 20s to take care of their student debt. They're not going to get enough 20s to take care of the discrepancy in housing. So that doesn't mean anything who you put on a dollar bill. If the poor people who can't get the money still can't get the money, who cares who's on the money?
All right. So who cares who's on the money? All right, let the church say amen.
Amen.
Amen. All
right. Alhamdulillah.
Set it off already. All right. So let me jump to Tariq. Let me jump to Tariq Abdul Khalik. So Tariq, this seems to be a lot of people seem to feel that this sort of fits into the pattern of symbolism. Rather than actually giving you this equality or whatever it is that they claim to give us, rather than giving you equality, we're going to give you a picture of equality or the perception or the image of equality. What do you think? Does it mean anything that Harriet's on the $20 bill? What does that mean to you?
No, it means absolutely nothing because our socioeconomic situation is still not addressed. And actions like this is really designed to pacify black people. It's designed to say, you see, this is why we need to keep supporting Democrats, because they do things like this. They put black women on $20 bills. They elevate LGBT black people to certain positions of the cabinet. So this is how we are looked at as a race politically. We are looked at as a race to pander to. We're not looked at as a race to take seriously, to develop agendas and implement to improve the community. And to be honest, the only way for this to change is for black people to politically mature. We need to stop telling Joe Biden we need X, Y, Z amount of black people in certain positions. If all the black people are going to do is do whatever white people do when they get in those positions and ignore you, we need to start saying, Joe Biden, we want reparations. We want you to address our economic situation. If you keep asking for our vote, we need something tangible in return. Stop doing these stupid, putting Harriet Tubmans on dollar bills and Spencer pacifiers. But, you know, the problem is you are going to see black media celebrating this and saying this is a good move on Joe Biden, which further psychologically programs us to enjoy symbolism, and that's it.
Okay, so let me go to Jeff Lightsey Jr. So Jeff, it seems to me that that you know, it's almost as if certain people just aren't being heard. You know, that we're not even that you know, we could scream this all day long. Madam President is clearly upset about it. T isn't. It's almost like I think we might be unanimous. In fact, let me take a vote on the panel. How many of you think that this Harriet Tubman move is gaslighting? That it's some BS? That it's just some symbolism to replace substance? Raise your hand. Everybody, give me a yes or no in the chat if you think that this is just BS. If you think it's legit, then say no. But how many of you by hand raise? Dr. Charm, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I think Dr. Charm is frozen. All the panelists, raise your hand if you think that this is some BS. And everybody in the chat say yes if you think it's BS. Okay, I see. Okay, so this is this is kind of an interesting topic because everybody's kind of thinking the same thing. So it seemed to me that if you have millions of black people who are looking at this and saying, what is this nonsense, that they would respond to that. But Jeff, it seems to me like they're not really hearing that and they're tone deaf to it. What are your thoughts on that?
So it's very true. Here's the thing about the Harriet Tubman thing on the $20 bill. Maybe I might be alone on this on the panel, is that I don't find it as a bad thing, right? Like, yeah, Harriet Tubman can be on the $20 bill. That's cool. Like, whatever. She can be on a $1,000 bill. Like, I don't care. Make up a new bill, then put Harriet Tubman on that. That honestly, that means nothing to me. But okay, that's cool. But where's the rest? Right? Like that's cool. Like symbolism to a certain extent can be good and can be beneficial in some aspects, I'll say. But it can't end there. That's where I'm getting at. Like, yeah, you can put Harriet Tubman and tell the story of Harriet Tubman and have people across the country, people that may have not ever known about Harriet Tubman, even black folks that aren't well educated on her story, her history, or whatever. But it shouldn't just end there, right? Like just because she's on the $20 bill doesn't stop you or doesn't prevent you from doing what you owe, right? Like just because you do, like, hey, you know, boys, you owe me $100. But it's like, Jeff, man, your hat looks nice today. It was like, oh, thanks. You know, I like that I have a nice hat, but you still owe me my $100, right? Like you still need to run me my money. You still need to run me what you owe me. So yeah, thanks for the compliment. Thanks for doing this. You might even educate some people. Hell, you might even go buy you a hat like this. But at the end of the day, you still owe me what you do. And so that's what I mean by it's not all a bad thing, but we can't ignore what's actually owed in the end.
So, Dr. Charm, it seems like what has to be made clear in this whole debate is that this is not anti-Harriet Tubman. Like, we don't want them to do a Colin Kaepernick where everybody thought he was protesting the flag. You know how people just deliberately, it's propaganda, by the way. When they will deliberately misinterpret your message intentionally just so they can try to make you look stupid. So I think that's important for the dummies out here to help them understand this is not anti-Harriet Tubman. This is not to say that it can't be appreciated that she's on the $20 bill. She deserves it. But it almost seems to say that there's a need for more. Dr. Charm, what do you think about that argument? And also, if you were to add more to that in terms of what they need to do, what would you add on to the mix, Dr. Charm?
I'm gonna tell you what the irony of all of this is. Now, first of all, shout out to Madam President, girlfriend. You brought it down. I feel like I needed to get my had to break this out. Okay. but the irony of all of this is, and the insult is that Harriet Tubman was a Union spy, a scout, and a nurse. Had it not been for her efforts, the Union would not have won the Civil War. When she became elderly, she never got a military pension for her service to the Union Army. Mm-hmm. Though she also did guerrilla, was integral in some of this guerrilla warfare that was going on. So she never got a military pension for her service. She got $8 a month because her second husband was a former soldier. So she was able to get $8 a month when he died, after his death. And then they had to pass a congressional act for her to get more money. And guess how much money she ended up getting per month after this congressional action was done?
I don't know. What amount?
$20.
Wow. Interesting.
That's how much that she got. She got $20 a month. So we're not going to go here and talk about $20. They want to plaster Harriet Tubman all across a $20 bill when you had to have a congressional act for this woman who was pretty much a Union soldier to get $20 a month in pension. And she only got that $20 for the last 13 years of her life.
Wow.
So, yeah. So this symbolism, you talk about symbolism, honey, white people know symbolism more than anybody else. And so the fact that Harriet Tubman got $20 a month after a congressional act, and now they want to put her on a $20 bill is a slap in the face. It is a complete slap in the face. We actually should be insulted. I was one of the ones when I saw it, I was proud and everything. But now looking at it, to say $20, put her on a $20 bill when the median Black family's household net worth is $1,700. The median white household's net worth is $116,000. Our net worth went down from $6,800 in net worth, all well combined, minus expenses and all this. And white people's rose from $100,000 to $116,000. So why are we talking about Harriet Tubman being on a $20 bill when we don't have $20 to rub together collectively as a group in wealth?
Wow. Well, you know what, John Thomas, one of the things that I was thinking about is that it's real funny if, we know it seems to me that the majority of the people listening agree that the government owes Black people trillions of dollars for reparations because this wealth was stolen. This is not a debate anymore. This was documented, it's proven. And it's almost just such an ironic thing to say, not only am I not going to pay you back the money I stole from you, but I'm going to put your face on the money that I stole from you when I put that money right back in my pocket. That just almost just is infuriating. I mean, don't you think? I mean, what do you think about that in terms of their lack of acknowledgement that this money is owed to us and you're not paying us, and you somehow think that putting our face on the money that you're keeping is going to make us feel better? What do you think about that, John?
It's basically empty symbolism. It is really disrespectful. I mean, on one hand, it's a nice gesture, like that's nice, but also, what are you doing to fix the root of the problem? That's similar to if the White House said, we're going to name the street in front of the White House Black Lives Matter Ave. It's like, okay, yeah, that's nice, but there's a lot of people in DC, Black people, that are still struggling. What are you going to do about that? And similar to the NFL creating these NFL programs catered to now bringing attention to the Black community, the stuff that Colin Kaepernick was talking about. But you didn't hire Colin Kaepernick, the dude that was bringing attention to that in the first place. You're leaving him out. You're cutting him out. So how is this still a good thing? Yeah, like that's nice, but do right by us. And doing right by us is getting all of our people out of jail who have been in mass incarcerated, because we are filling out most of the jails. That is pumping money into our communities. That's giving us 40 acres and a mule that we never really received. But there's been programs created for white people and white immigrants and giving them land, basically just handing land away from them and teaching them how to do it. But with us, you didn't do that with us. And here we are still saving their political asses time and time again. And even Stacey Abrams then went through above and beyond more than what the Democrats have ever done in Georgia. Black people, a Black woman. And this is the thanks we get. Oh, we're going to put a Black person on this $20 bill, but we're going to get most of that money anyway. We're not going to fix your problem. Just like Dr. Charles said, you can barely get your hand on a $20 bill. But we're going to have it, keep building our wealth. And actually, we're going to bring in immigrants to take more jobs from you, not building any industries within your own communities, and saying we're going to create jobs, but the jobs are slowly disappearing. So what jobs are we going to have after a while?
Well, you know what? I want to ask you, Jeff Lightsey Jr., you're a sports guy, and I was watching, you and I were debating sports right before this panel started, and Jeff knows all about sports. He's on the Black Boss channel. So Jeff, I was watching the game. I mean, since somebody brought up the NFL and Jay-Z and Kaepernick and everything else, and I had a moment of reflection where I thought about just how crafty people can be with media, and media and politics are connected, right? That's how they manipulate you politically, is through the media. And I thought about how so the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just went to the Super Bowl, which was really fun to watch. And I thought about it, I said, it's amazing how quietly Antonio Brown just sort of slid right back into the NFL. They said nothing, right? And then I said, wow, and Tariq Hill, I remember when Tariq Hill was having some crazy drama, and now he's like the star. And I said, the NFL is so slick with their PR. And then I started thinking about, and not that I'm upset about that. I mean, good luck to the brothers. That's fine. But then I said, what about Jay-Z and this Kaepernick thing? Kaepernick, the discussion about Kaepernick and what he was protesting has almost completely disappeared. I haven't seen any evidence that anything has changed in the NFL since they hired Jay-Z. It's almost like they paid him off to just kind of make the issue go away. Like he's the cleanup man. And it's not the only time he's done that. He did that, like even with the Brooklyn Nets, he was a cleanup man because Cornel West and a bunch of other people were actually leading protests to force the Russian owners, to create jobs for the people in that community. They knew that what the gentrification was coming and all that. Well, when they got Jay-Z and went and paid him and put him on a billboard, it made all that go away. So it's almost like there are things that are done that kind of rock us to sleep. I think that's what I'm getting at, right? So speaking just in the world of sports, let's specifically talk about the Jay-Z thing as a case in point. What in the fuck has Jay-Z done to change anything in the NFL? I hate saying it like that, but seriously, I cannot think of anything that's happened differently in the NFL because of Jay-Z's presence. Can you please enlighten me, man? You're the sports guy. Tell me what's going on.
I can tell you that Jay-Z made the Kaepernick thing like a great magician. He just made it go away, right? Like he made it like, look over here, because the NFL was losing. I mean, if you guys don't remember, because Donald Trump was, hating on the NFL and all these people were mad. So you had right wingers that hated the NFL because they were allowing the players to kneel, and then you had black people and left wingers was hating the NFL because they let Cap get out the league and didn't bring him back and all of this stuff. So the NFL was having like a hard time on both ends. So this is just me. No, I've not spoken. Let me make it clear. I've not spoken to anybody from the NFL, but this is just me. The NFL, because their owners are billionaires, they're more likely lean towards Republican or conservative. They were like, okay, we can handle the billionaires, right? Like we can get them back on board. We need Jay-Z to get the black folks back on board. We need Jay-Z to get, to be like the great musician and come through and make something happen to where the Kaepernick conversation never completely goes away. It can never really go away, but it can die down. It can get some of those people who were Team Cap all the way back to watching Super Bowl games and back to watching Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, right? So that's kind of what he did. I mean, essentially, when Jay-Z got brought in, they said they worked Cap out, and then they flipped it on Cap. I don't know if you guys remember. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but Cap, they said, okay, we're going to set up this design workout in Atlanta on a random Saturday during the NFL season, and we'll have teams come in and watch Cap. And then Cap was like, hold on. Like, y'all just throwing this on me and I don't get to dictate anything that's going on. And then also I can't take the film and send it out myself. It's like, no, I'm not doing it that way. I'm going to set up my own workout an hour outside of Atlanta and do that kind of stuff. And so when that happened, and because Jay-Z was in conjunction with like Stephen A. Smith and some other guys that made that workout happen, when Cap kind of like took the alternative route, that's when they were like, well, see, we tried to give him a chance. We tried to give him a chance, and he didn't take it. He was ungrateful. And that's what they kind of did. So, like you said, the thing about media and PR, that's how they kind of flipped it. So that's what Jay-Z ultimately was brought in to do. I think also what happens with that is, so he was able to bring in and just kind of make the Kaepernick thing kind of go away.
Yeah, so Dr. Charm, one of the things it seems to me that in terms of political rope-a-dopes that are used is it's like, okay, we're not really gonna this is one of many tactics, but it's like, we're not really gonna say that we're doing nothing for you. Like we're never gonna tell black people, like, look, we're not gonna do reparations, we're not gonna do this, not gonna do that, right? Because that's gonna cause an issue, right? And in fact, even if you really think about it, that one Zoom call where Biden was yelling at all of our black leaders, so-called black leaders. These supposed to be leaders, and they up here looking like a bunch of punks, getting yelled at, but Biden was actually saying no to them, right? And you saw what an uproar that was. So it almost seems that the tactic they use is one that I've actually seen this in China. When I was in China, I noticed that a lot of the people would never say no to you. They would just say, we'll see. Or they'll say, okay, let me think about it. Like you could be like, so can you give me $10 million and your firstborn child? And they'll be like, let me think about it. And it almost seems like with the politicians, that's what you get. Like, so it seems to me they could come back and say, well, look, it's not like we're not doing anything for black people. Look, we gave them this thing over here that they did, that nobody asked for, but we decided we were going to give this to them. We put Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. We painted Black Lives Matter on the stop sign. And we put a basketball court in the local elementary school, so black people got something out of this. What do you think in terms of the games that are being played, and how does that make you feel?
As Dr. Claude Anderson always says, we are still under a policy of benign neglect. From the Daniel Patrick Moynihan report. They explicitly said, he was on Nixon's staff, explicitly said, hey, when we use race and talk about racial things, then, black people are able to get and utilize that as a bargaining chip and able to work with that when we say race. So we're not going to say race anymore. We're going to use other terms and other things, and we're going to do this whole benign neglect thing. And that's what we've been under, and that's what we continue to be under. And we're the only group that's under it. The Hispanics, they're about to have the 11 million people on an 8-year path to citizenship, whether they came here legally, illegally, the DACA, they're about to get DACA. And they did their quid pro quo. They say, hey, we're going to vote for you and we're going to get something in return. So I cannot fault them. Black people, we got to save the day. We've got to be, what does the CBC say? They're the moral compass of Congress or whatever the hell they're saying. I think they had to, after pressure, they finally did have to change their mission statement, saying that they say something about doing something for black people. So why are we the only group that we cannot say we need something for black people and not feel guilty or ashamed about it? You see, Ice Cube tried to work bipartisan. And those Democrats attacked him. He got attacked by the liberals more than anybody else. So we're still under benign neglect. And until we make some really, really critical and really stringent type of decisions, we're going to still be under benign neglect.
So, Tariq, why do you think that we? So let me actually, I wanted you to respond to this, Tariq. But as Dr. Charm was speaking, and she's such a smart black woman, I was doing research and I wanted to get the specific definition of the term benign neglect, because y'all know that this is the platform for intelligent black people. So we're not going to let you come up in here and not be smarter when you walk up out of here. So here's the definition of benign neglect. It says an attitude or policy of ignoring an often delicate or undesirable situation that one is held to be responsible for dealing with. Another definition is that it refers to, now it's funny, the word benign actually refers to like a condition, a tumor or growth that's not cancerous. So it's like a cancer that is not spread to other parts of the body. It doesn't invade nearby tissue. So it's interesting when you sort of conjoin those definitions and you think about the cancer that is racial oppression, right? The cancer that is the growing black rage that I think a lot of people feel for being ignored for so long. And it's the difficult issue that they kind of ignore. And actually benign neglect can even be applied to a spouse, a husband who knows that there's an issue in the family and he refuses to address it. And it's only going to make it worse. So T, I'd like to ask you that question. When you think about benign neglect, and the deliberate decision that they make to consistently rely on that policy as opposed to addressing the issue head on, why might that be a rational decision for them? Why do you think that they stick with that even when people are telling them that this isn't going to work?
Because they see no consequence from the black community. That's what it is. They know, our people, sadly, we are a very predictable people, and it's frustrating. We know how black people are going to vote. Every 2 years when the House and Senate is up for re-election, we will automatically as a collective default to Democrats. Why? It's because we got people scaring us that the only white supremacists, and that word is only used aimed towards Republicans. The only white supremacists in this country are right-winger Republicans. Therefore, out of fear, we need to stick with the Democrats. And we're going to do that again the next election. And this is why the Democrats continue to do that, because they know our race will never hold them accountable. We never will. When Joe Biden co-authored the crime bill, did we hold him accountable for that? Did we as a collective condemn him? No, we did nothing. When he went on Charlemagne the God Show, because Democrats assume that when they go on the Breakfast Club, all those Negroes are just retarded, until Charlemagne the God was actually asking them questions directly dealing with the black community. He got upset, and he's like, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. See, they're not used to black people pushing back. And then after all those insults, after Joe Biden even saying that, after him even saying that, we even defended it. I've even saw Jamel Hill write on Twitter, I know what he means. If you're not voting with us, then you are not a part of our community. So this is the problem. We black people tell the Democrats that this is what our race is like. We just want to feel good. We just want you to pat us on the back. You sprinkle a couple of black people in your cabinet and make it all diverse. We don't care what agendas they are. As long as they're black, we are fine with it. So it's really on black people to finally say enough is enough as a collective and administer a public consequence. I think you're muted, brother.
Yeah, you're muted.
All right, thank you. Thanks for that, guys. I apologize for that. So, Madam President, it seems to me like this is almost like a type of voter suppression. That says, that if you have Jamel or anybody telling black people that you have to support something you don't believe in or something that you don't think is good for your community, then we're going to punish you. We're going to punish you more for not standing by the racists than we'll punish you for actually trying to liberate us from the racists, right? Because there are people that it seems to me like they love Joe Biden more than they like somebody like an Ice Cube. And I find that really, I personally have a hard time understanding that, how you can actually love your oppressor more than you love somebody who tries to liberate you from the oppression. But it almost reminds me of maybe an alcoholic who gets mad at you because you take the liquor bottle out of his hand, or a drug addict, where you tell them, well, I'm gonna pull you off the pipe no matter what, they get mad. They're getting yanked out of the crack house. Is there some sort of addiction going on, like an addiction to white supremacy or an addiction to validation from white people, an addiction to simply doing what we've always done, or an addiction to the Democratic Party? What do you think is going on here, Madam President?
Well, a couple things. One of the things is free thinking and being a leader is not our strong suit because we were once, descendants of slaves. So you have a lot of Black people that just do not think for themselves. So once you have that dynamic where you don't have a lot of people who are thinking for themselves, and I've used this analysis before, white people were taught that they are God. Black people are taught to serve and worship God. So when you have a group of people, and when I say this, I don't want people to start thinking like, oh man, now she just have Black folks just worshiping the white man. No, what I'm saying is, when you pray for a God, what you ask for, you ask for good health, you ask for a clothes on your back and a roof over your head, those kind of power dynamics that make you praise and worship, right? Well, white people have been in a position to be the provider of the house that you live in, the job that you have access to, over the education system that you have, and even something like the music industry, white people over the music that's through the airwaves. So you got these white people that have so much control over the life of Black people in all aspects of it, even in how they the identity, how they speak, where we live, what we do, right? So a lot of times, even from a political standpoint, we are not free thinkers. When you think about our grandparents, when you think about how Bill Clinton went on Arsenio Hall, I was just a little girl at that time. But when Bill Clinton went on Arsenio Hall and he played the saxophone, Black people were moved. And those same Black folks that was moved and said, oh, he cool, had their sons in prison for a very long time. Some died in prison. They'll never see them again. But what I noticed is they will say that Bill Clinton is still invited to the cookout. So how can a man that put your cousin and your uncle and your auntie in jail for years at a time be responsible for orchestrating something so malice? How could you allow them to the cookout? But they constantly do. They will not hold him accountable. So we don't even hold white supremacy accountable. But when Ice Cube present an idea, when Ice Cube say, hey, look, I want us to be collectively well, all of a sudden we start attacking him. And this is why I am for reparations. You know why? Because the cancer of white supremacy is through the veins of Black people. It is too deep, okay? And let me tell you, when a doctor comes and a cancer patient, he can't do anything else for a cancer patient. He says, I think it's time to let this patient be comfortable and let them die. You know, that's what he says. So at this point, when it comes to Black America, we have to determine who we got to let be comfortable and who is ready to go ahead and live a whole new life, you know, in their own supremacy, in their own way of being, with their own education system. Because that's the thing. This is one of the reasons why this was so difficult, this election. Because we feel connected to Joe Biden, but your kids will never have the same nutrition as Joe Biden. Your children will never have the same education as Joe Biden's children. You will have nothing in comparison. But because you are a descendant of a slave and you're psychologically just comfortable with the scraps of America, you just say, okay, you say thank you. You just say, oh, okay, thank you for anything that you give me. But when you know who God is for real, you're like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. There's some more to me. There's some royalty in me. And I'm going to need the respect that is due to me because who my real father is, but not what white supremacy has deemed me as. So psychologically, we got a lot of issues. But when you look at Kamala Harris, I think you should also look at Sandra Bland. When you look at Kamala Harris, I think you should also look at Trayvon Martin. I want you to look at everybody. Don't just start looking at this one narrow-minded vision. America is massive. And even the things that you are not aware of that's going on, it's going on.
Wow. Well, everybody, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button right now. If you could, please hit the thumbs up button. And we need y'all to like share this because this is Black media, y'all. This is what we do. This is our thing. And we want to make sure our message gets out to the world. So please do that. Now, Ray Biggs asked a good question. He said, what happened to Sean King coming on your podcast? Well, I'm going to have to say, you're going to have to ask Sean King because all I know is that Sean agreed to come on. And then I guess he did some homework and realized I might ask him some hard questions. And Sean got sick and never got well. But I'm not dissing the brother. I'm not dissing. I'm gonna give him a shot. He's from Kentucky, so I don't hate Sean King. I think the good outweighs the bad. But I think anybody who does a little research will see that he and I don't always agree politically. But I do like him more than I dislike. Right. So he's not all good in my brain, but he's not all bad. And I think the good outweighs the bad. So, Sean, if you're listening, you are still invited to come on. But as I said, we were scheduled. Next thing I knew, he was sick. And again, I think he might still be sick. I don't know.
Coronavirus.
He got that corona. He got corona. Anyway, so let's hope that Sean gets over that Rona. But hey, so John F. Thomas, you're in Hollywood. And I want to ask you a question. You made movies, and you're a great actor and a great filmmaker and writer and director and everything else. I went to me and Alicia went to go see the Harriet Tubman movie. And did anybody see the Harriet Tubman movie? Give me a yes in the chat if you saw the Harriet Tubman movie, and also give me a double yes in the chat if you thought that movie was just a monstrosity in terms of really disrupting the image and the legacy of Harriet Tubman, like literally. Almost like if you was to put white supremacy and the white liberal agenda in liquid form and put it in a tube and inject it into the body of the movie, that's how I felt. I felt like it was like we're going to take all of our agenda, everything from every agenda that white liberals have. Y'all know what those agendas are, whatever they happen to be. and we're going to inject this all into Harriet and make her into something other than she was. It was really disturbing to watch. I mean, me and Alicia were disgusted in the theater because in fact, there was a point at the end. First of all, just among many things, there was one magical black man that they just literally created him out of thin air. He didn't exist. And they created this magical black man. And this black man, the whole movie, he was the terrorist that beat the black women more than the white guys did. Literally, he was the most violent person in the movie. So they made up a magical black man who was like literally the biggest stereotype you've ever seen in your life. And then at the end, when Harriet Tubman, remember Harriet, Miss, I'll pop a cap in your ass if you turn around, Tubman, gets a chance to actually pull the gun out on her slave master. And instead of killing the slave master, she just shoots the gun in the air and says, "It ain't right. You ain't supposed to enslave people." And then she lets the white guy ride off on the white horse. And I'm like, you're Harriet Tubman. You're supposed to put a cap in his ass. Like, that's what you're known for. But no, she literally forgave the slave master at the end of the movie. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, so John, did you see the movie? And it seems to me that their media loves to take the people we admire and turn them into things that we don't recognize, cartoon characters almost. What are your thoughts on that, John?
They always do that when it comes to slave movies, especially if we are not in charge of that narrative. We are not in charge of that movie, and oftentimes we're not. So the only movie that I can think of that we were fully in charge of recently was Birth of a Nation. And you see what they did today. They brought up some extremely old news, and they buried the hell out of Nate Parker. And so that movie just a lot of us didn't even go see it because, he raped this woman, even though he was acquitted from it, even though there were other witnesses that said he didn't do what she said he did. A lot of us still didn't go see it because we lined up with, sided with the other white feminists, the other white liberals, white female liberals who wouldn't do the same for black women. But yet here we are siding with them. And it goes back to even like Black Klansman. Black Klansman, they're even though Spike Lee is a Spike Lee movie, but there was a scene in there where it almost seemed like he was equating these two things, where it was showing like people, a whole bunch of white Klan members, white power, and then it showed black people, black power, and it kept going back and forth, almost like it was insinuating like these two are the same thing, and they're not. So you even have people who look like us that are in these positions that still kind of trickle in what white America wants, and them to think like, oh, well, we don't need to have white power or black power, all power, power, everybody, and even in all these slave movies that we see. What's the constant theme that we constantly see, and that we forgive, or either we forgive a white person or one of the white people, they aren't that bad. They aren't because they helped us out. Not all white people, because there's that one white person, Hidden Figures. That one scene where she wanted to use the bathroom and the guy went and tore the sign off.
It's just fake. Very fake. It was very fake.
Miles ahead, that movie. He couldn't get that movie done because, you need to have a white person in there. You need to inject a white person because, people will go see it. And it's about Miles Davis. It's a black jazz musician. Why do white people constantly have to be in our movies where they're helping us to do whatever we need to do as if we can't do it ourselves? But
he was imaginary.
He was a what?
So the white guy in the Miles Ahead was an imaginary white man. That white man did not even exist in real life.
Wait, you talking about the Miles Davis movie?
Yes.
They had a magical white man in that movie too?
He was imaginary. He did not exist on paper.
They just be inventing magical white people in all these movies. Like, because they did in the Harriet Tubman, magical white people, like they did. It's like they just say, okay, we're going to make the story what we want it to be and create characters that we relate to politically. And really that almost speaks to me about why black media is so important. Why we gotta tell these stories ourselves. We can't
they want white sympathy. And all of our black movies that they fund and they put money in, they want white sympathy. So all these slave movies, they want some kind of white sympathy. The reason why they went so hard against Birth of a Nation, and I was surprised. I thought the white guy that Nate Turner grew up with, you know, that because they were friends when they were kids. I thought like, oh, eventually he's gonna, you know, come to his senses and help him out. No, man, he was killing everybody, and I loved it because we finally had the power within our hands, but they didn't want that move. They didn't want us to become empowered. They didn't want us thinking that we can do stuff without them. And that goes back to what Madam President was saying. They want to be our masters. They want to be our guys. And we are stuck in that mental thing where, oh, we have to, I gotta vote Democrat. I gotta vote, we gotta get those bad Republicans out because they're gonna take us back 400 years, we're gonna be in slavery again. No, these are still white supremacists that we're voting for. They're gonna put Harriet Tubman on the bill and they're gonna ignore our ass for the next 4 years.
Well, you know, I'll tell you what, Dr. Charm, when you go back to people and their reaction to Ice Cube, you know, I saw people that were just sort of like, you know, really going at him pretty hard. What I saw was a couple things. I saw the plantation, first of all, you know, the overseer, like, I'm gonna beat you before so master doesn't have to do it. Right. And I saw a lot of that, you know, like namely, I could think of when Ice Cube went on Roland Martin's show, and Roland Martin spent a lot of time seeking to discredit and undermine Ice Cube. He was on Cocktails with Queens on Fox Soul. And who was it? Lisa Ray, who was in Players Club, talked about that interview. She talked about how Vivica Fox and Claudia Jordan really wanted to kind of claw away at Ice Cube. And she said, I was deliberately silent in that interview because I knew that they were wrong. Or she didn't say it like that, but she basically, you know, kind of insinuated that. So I saw the plantation. I also saw fear, right? I fear of this idea that says, you know, what I think Amanda Seal with her crazy ass did a video about it, about, you know, like she saw a Trump, some kind of Trump, it was a Trump Biden debate. And I guess Trump had made his little statement about the Proud Boys stand by or whatever. Even though, again, I'm still looking for anybody to show me where the Proud Boys went and murdered 1,000 black people. I just haven't seen it. I'm not saying they can't do it. Then maybe they got, for all I know, they can have nuclear warheads in the back of their pickup trucks that are being set to be deployed at any moment now. But I have not seen it. Right? It's artificial fear. That is, let's just call it what it is. Fake ass fear. But y'all ain't gonna believe me. Y'all gonna get mad because y'all gonna think, oh, no, Dr. Boyce, you that okay? I'm not gonna do this to you. So let me, Dr. Charm. What I saw fear, and Amanda Seals. I saw her. I think I remember her saying, like, oh no, Trump is too crazy. We gotta get him out of office. This forget the black agenda, forget reparations, forget all of that. We need to just do, you know, and so it almost seems that fear does a lot of things. And I know you are into health and wellness. So you can understand what fear can do to the body, what it certainly does to the brain. It can shut down your rational thinking. You can't be strategic when you're afraid. Like Mike Tyson used to say, everybody's got a plan. Everybody's got a fight plan until they get hit in the mouth, right? When that fear kicks in, you become a sucker. You become afraid. You start running. You start going back. You become a bug-eyed coon for the most part, like, because you're just so scared of what masses going to do if you don't do what you're supposed to do. Talk about fear and how fear shapes far too many of our decisions as a people and how we have to kind of get past that.
Well, I think, you know, I have to go back to when we talk about the movies. So we talked about Birth of a Nation, how there wasn't a white savior. And I don't know if anybody saw Antebellum. Spoiler alert for people that saw it, but honey, Miss Janelle Monáe, she killed all the white people. I mean, and she wasn't going around killing innocent white people. She got all the white people that had enslaved her. And that movie I was so afraid when I saw that movie, because my takeaway from that is when you realize that she was actually was a modern woman and got kidnapped and put on this plantation. That was the most chilling message, because that's what happened in Africa. We were doctors and lawyers and farmers and laborers, and some people were kings and queens, and whatever circumstance we were in, we were all taken and put on that plantation. And that was my chilling takeaway from Antebellum of how scary that is, that you could just be living your life and get snatched up and just taken away from everything you know or love. And this lives in our DNA. They've already done the studies on Holocaust victims. They have done research studies on the great grandchildren of Holocaust survivors, and they have shown that the trauma that Holocaust victim endured will actually change the DNA in their descendants, and it's measurable. These genetic SNPs and these things that are on the genetic level. So if the Holocaust took place over a period of what, 10 to 15 years, and that was enough to change the genetic the encoded genetic message that's passed on to your children and grandchildren over a period of 10, 15 years, 250 years of slavery, what did that do to us? And so now when we fast forward, it instilled fear. We saw trauma. It got to the point where I think Malcolm X talks about this in one of his books about the pregnant woman being split open with the baby falling out and stomped on. So when you see something like that, it's so horrific. It's terrorism. Then, of course, they don't have to tell you don't run away. They showed you this is what's going to happen if you run away. This is what's going to happen if you fight back. You'll be lynched. You'll be killed. And so it's encoded on a genetic level. And we have so much trauma. So then when you get to an Ice Cube, I mean, Ice Cube is basically coming up to the master on a plantation and saying, we need a paycheck for all this labor. Of course, you got the house niggas in the field, niggas that are on, on the side of master, like, hey, oh no, don't mess it up for everybody now. We might have, we might get corn pone and some fatback on Christmas. Don't mess it up. So this is what happens. And so now they've attacked Ice Cube, and all Ice Cube was doing is asking for us to get something for our vote. And he had to come out and say it was bipartisan. And I think the only mistake, I love me some Ice Cube, honey. I've seen me some Players Club. I've met Lisa Ray. The only thing, yay, So I go up the West Coast for a second. But the only problem or my only criticism or critique about Ice Cube is that he has said, or I've read that he consulted Dr. Anderson on some of the policy. He went and consulted some other scholars. And I really wish, being that he's not a scholarly type and he's not, a person who's versed and steeped in policy, I really wish that he had done these interviews with Dr. Anderson, if he had been available, or Cornel West, or someone who could articulate better some of this policy. I think that's my only critique of, and I think it would have been better well received on some of these interviews, and would have been just able to maneuver a little bit better having that background and possibly having someone there doing the interview with him that's versed on that, especially because he consulted other people. He didn't come up with the plan on his own.
I think it's a good point, and I think that what I like about the way he approached things is I think he would have actually heard that critique. I saw him in interviews, like I saw Roland Martin really tried to pin him down by asking him detailed questions about the Platinum Plan, and I remember Ice Cube had to say, I didn't write the Platinum Plan. That is not my plan. Like, what are you talking? I can tell you about Contract of Black America, but I don't know the Platinum Plan. And it was almost like you just felt bad energy from the jump. And again, my thought was, you don't have to agree with what he's doing, but why are you sabotaging it? Who do you work for? And I think that's the question I want to ask a lot of Black people that are in prominent positions. Who are you really working for? Because you could easily sit back and just not say anything. You could just be quiet and say, well, I ain't with it, but I'm not going to get in the way. Good luck. I hope you get it. But no, there were people that were deliberately positioning themselves to sabotage what was going on in the Black community. And I think that we got to kind of be perceptive of that, right? Allow people to have freedom of speech. Like, if somebody didn't agree, let them say, I don't agree. But when you are trying to stop something, or you're deliberately lying, or deliberately spreading propaganda, or deliberately being manipulative, that just tells me that you got some buttered biscuits coming to you underneath the table. Somebody's, so I'm gonna be watching. If you want to know what I'm gonna be looking at, I'm gonna be watching as Biden and Harris enter the White House. Which of these internet Negroes is gonna be sitting up in the White House doing an interview, or got a book deal, or a new show on MSNBC, or whatever? Because that's how they reward you. And I know I know a little bit about these things, because I remember it was very strange to me about 11 years ago when Al Sharpton went out of his way to introduce me to the head of MSNBC. And it was real weird because Al Sharpton is one of the smartest people I know. I'm not kidding. This guy, his brain works like a computer. He may look like a weird, goofy preacher with a perm, which he is. He's that too, but he's also very smart. He's not stupid. And so he's got thousands of friends, all these people in his Rolodex, but he kept circling back with me and saying, oh, yeah, I want you to meet the president of MSNBC. Oh, but yeah, by the way, I want to meet the president. I'm like, how does he remember this? Because he's got other more important things to do. Well, I believe that the reason he wanted me to meet the guy was because they were vetting me out. They were trying to see if I would play ball because ultimately Melissa Harris Perry, remember she's a scholar just like I was, and she got that show on MSNBC, which she was a better fit for that anyway. But they played the game in a real funny way. And I think, and from what I got a chance to see in that space, I said there's nothing good here happening for Black people. Now the people that benefit are the Black elite. Those Negroes that are on the crust. Like the icing on the cake Negroes, right? You got the cake, which is the community. You got the people that live in the icing that actually have access to white privilege because they're kind of the Negro whisperers. They're the translators. They're the Negro managers, right? They deliver the Black votes. They get Black folks doing certain things. And then in exchange for that, they get rewarded. So the Black elite is going to do really well from the Biden and Harris administration. And I think that we have to really make sure we're deliberate in terms of saying, look, it's okay for you to do well if you're in the Black elite, but you cannot leave the masses behind. And I think that's what separated Malcolm X from some of the leaders, not all of them, but some of the leaders in the civil rights movement who were not really so much thinking about how to improve the entire community. So I think that's what we got to look for in this Biden-Harris thing is who's really going to take a stand and say, that if you want credit, you have to do something to earn that. You have to really move the needle. You cannot use symbolism. And unfortunately, there aren't that many people doing it. I was really surprised that Ice Cube, I was real impressed with Ice Cube. I was real impressed with Charlemagne. And this came from like direct conversation. I was unimpressed with people, maybe Snoop Dogg and guys like that would jump in and say something stupid and then go back to doing whatever the hell they were doing before. I think that's where the community gets led astray and harmed. Nick Cannon, same thing. I'm gonna jump out and be all bold, and then I'm gonna cower down like a little wimp as soon as they put pressure on me. Ice Cube never wavered, and I think it's important to be clear about that. He never fucking wavered. He did not care what anybody said. The pressure, the people lying, none of that. He was just ready for it, and I think that's what the kind of leadership that's going to pull us out of this hole. So, go ahead.
Yeah, this is why they attack toxic masculinity, because if you notice, Ice Cube was being called toxic masculinity because he got together with this plan and he didn't really consult with Black women, which is ridiculous because especially if you watch that Foxhole interview with the cocktail queens or whatever, they were kind of drilling him, trying to make him look like a sexist as to why you didn't have a line that addresses Black women specifically. And then Ice Cube came back and said, "No, I'm speaking about Black people, which incorporates women." And they're like, "No. You need to have something that says Black women." So they do those small little things to minimize something that you are doing great. And this is why. And to me, when I see things like that, that's kind of designed to dumb down the Black community, to not have us think critically. We think on basic levels. So when we have Black men like Ice Cube and others really trying to fight for the Black community, we try to throw in these stupid little, and I'm gonna call it what it is. I just think it's white liberal ideas. Let's see what his positions is on the LGBT community. Let's see what his positions is on toxic masculinity. And if it goes against that, let's just beat him over the head over it. And then just one last thing. When Black people, well, I would say the Black liberal elite, publicly shun Ice Cube like that, what that told Joe Biden, because his administration said they will meet up with Ice Cube and discuss the plan when he get elected. Instead, what that told him is that his own people don't even want that plan. So therefore, we don't even have to meet up with him again. Done.
Well, I think that here's the thing, though. I think that the women who challenged Ice Cube, I think it's their right to do that. Remember, he's Ice Cube. He was a gangster rapper. Gangster rap in the 90s was not very kind to Black women. I think that there's accountability that has to be heard from that, and I don't back away from that at all. But I think that there is a way to hold people accountable for what they've done while not dismantling that person altogether. That's the thing. You know, when you saw, I'll give you an example like Farrakhan. I've seen people out of the interest of their white masters or whoever's telling them what to do, they would dismantle Farrakhan as if he's an irrelevant person. Like Angela Rye, talked about him like he's just nothing, like he's just garbage. And it's like, no, he's not garbage. You just don't agree with him. And it's your right, though, as a woman to disagree. I mean, maybe there's something to disagree with, but when you're trying to destroy someone, that's a problem. You're doing it, or Cornel West. When Cornel West challenged Barack Obama, they sent a hit squad after him. What they do, what the game is that they'll get some of the black folks that work for them, like at that time it was Melissa Harris Perry and Michael Eric Dyson, and they will arm them. They arm them with weapons of media, and they gave them all this space in the Atlantic to write like really long articles about how irrelevant and ridiculous and terrible Cornel West was, without actually trying to allow for an authentic debate where his ideas could be on the table next to their ideas. And again, that's where ownership of media has to come into play, because I don't think we should have a problem with people who disagree with us. I don't think that's healthy. But I think that, when someone is going out of their way to make sure that your ideas don't get heard, that's a person that's using you. There were people that would go on the radio during election time, and black radio stations would tell them that you cannot mention any candidate other than the Democratic Party candidate. And in fact, they would be specific. They say, don't even talk about Bernie Sanders. In the last election, they said, don't talk about Bernie Sanders. You better not talk about no Republicans. You can only talk to black people about Democrats. How can a person have a rule like that and still be your friend? That is not your friend. John, I haven't heard from you for a minute. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, this is a game that's just been rigged on all levels, against us. So we keep coming to this game trying to play chess when, these people are playing checkers, when these people are playing chess. And we really, just like T was saying, we have to start becoming really, really, really politically sound. We have to, even T and I were talking before, like even people who are black Republicans, they're not your enemy. Like, talk to these people, really talk to this person, and just try to understand. Hey man, why are you a Republican? What do you like about this party? You might learn something, because if we start becoming more politically aware and start holding the politicians that we have elected into office who look like us but aren't doing anything for our communities. They're just taking the money and doing stuff for the white communities, or doing stuff for the Hispanic communities, or doing stuff for the Asian communities, but never anything for the black communities. Only just Black Lives Matter signs and go out and march. And whenever we get mad, because sooner or later, somebody else is going to get shot by police. Somebody else is going to get murdered by the police. They're going to have a person just like the Atlanta mayor go home. This ain't the way to do it. Al Sharpton will come out, no, this ain't the way. We need to go home. We got to go, and we're going to vote them out. We've been doing that for how many years now?
At least 60
years.
Yeah.
Since Martin Luther King and Malcolm X have died. 60 years they've been telling us to vote. We got to vote them. We've been voting for 60 years and nothing has changed. People are still dying. Sandra Bland still died. George Floyd still died. But they banned the chokehold. But Eric Gardner, he died from a chokehold, and they let that officer free. They slapped him on the wrist, told him to go sit at the desk. We'll fix it, and he's still out doing his job. What has changed?
Well,
so we need to start becoming more politically sound, savvy, and really just start building our wealth for ourselves and start creating our own black media like this.
Yeah, and just to go off what John said, just and part of what you said too, Boyce, about allowing multiple people to talk. I think just when I think back to that Roland Martin with Ice Cube interview, it was like Roland was challenging everything he was saying, and he was like, "Oh, we have these people from Black Lives Matter and these people in the Congressional Black Caucus and yada yada yada." And he's like, "Oh, in this part of your black contract Black America, you say this. Well, in this part of the Congressional Black Caucus, they say the exact same thing." And Ice Cube was like, "Good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it shouldn't be a problem that we're both coming to the same conclusion. You come at your angle in your direction through Capitol Hill, through the government, whatever, and I'm going to put the pressure on them via media, via my millions of followers, via my black loyalists of B1 people that come with the B1 aspect. Like that shouldn't be a problem, all right? Like just because you skin your cat one way and I skin mine differently doesn't mean if we're both trying to get to the same destination, whether you go by plane or I go by helicopter, you go by car, I go by boat. Like we should all end up in the same direction. We all want the same thing. You shouldn't be criticizing me because I choose to take a airplane and you taking a cross country trip in a Ford Taurus or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it shouldn't be a problem. Like, and that was the issues that I had on some of these things. It's like we can come to the collective agreement on the same thing, whether we're Democrat, whether we're Republican, whether we're this or that, whether we whatever. But at the end of the day, if we have the B1 mindset, black first attitude, then that's all that should matter. Like that's all that should matter.
I want to tag on what you just said, because I was just listening to the Ballad of the Bullet, and I know you played that a long time ago. I constantly find myself going back listening to that, and something that Malcolm X said that really rings out to me is that he mentioned that I am a Muslim. All of these other leaders here are Christians. He said, but at the end of the day, we are about black people first. He was like, you keep your God at home, because if your God hasn't changed anything for you now, then hey, you need to change your idea, change something. He said, but I'm a black Muslim. He's black. These are black Christians, but we are black first. It doesn't matter. So that goes back to, it doesn't matter if I'm a black Democrat. It doesn't matter if I'm a black Republican. It doesn't matter if I'm a black liberal. It doesn't matter if I'm black independent. What matters is the black community first. We can still come together, Republican or Democrat, because they do it in Congress, they do it in Senate. They have bipartisan issues. As much as they argue, they still come together. Why can't we in the black community, if you're a black Republican or if you're a black Democrat or you're a black whatever, as long as the black community is first, we can come together and do the same thing, and we can flip this whole board upside down.
Yeah, so Madam President, it seems like, the solution is simple, right? Like we come together, we figure out what we have in common as opposed to what we don't have in common, and we put our community first. So if the solution's that simple, why don't we just do it? I think you're muted.
I'm not laughing at you, Dr. Watkins or John. Have you ever tried to get us to come together?
Right. Yeah.
Have you ever seen trying to get a group of black folks together on one agenda, on one accord? We had to recreate time. You got time and CP time. That's how we together. But I think that a lot of times I think when we are thinking about solutions, I try to start very small, opposed to me thinking I can change 1 million black women's lives, which I hope to do so one day. And when I say change their lives, I just mean from an aspect of, you ain't got to slide your soul down a pole to get to that goal, things like that. Like we should be constantly just being advantageous in ourselves within our community. I want to answer this properly. We really need to have a little bit more of a concise idea. Like, for example, opposed to, giving $1 million to Howard, I think that as a small community, what you can do is you can determine from your church building that has 1,000 members that keeps paying tithes and offering, you could basically pay for 2 dentists to go to school, pay for 2 doctors to go to school. And then by them going to school free, you allow them to work 10 years for free in the community in which have sent them to school. So those are just some of the ideas that I personally think could start small, just from a community aspect, so that we can start building communities of leaders and doctors and dentists and having access to the things that we've been denied. Because I don't blame Black people for wanting more. I don't blame Black people for being born in poverty and saying, I can't live like this. I need something better. But what becomes problematic is if the white people only have access or only have what's better. That's problematic. That means your son, no matter how cute and dark and chocolate he is, he always going to be going on the other side of town for school. He's always going to be going on the other side of town for a job. And so we really, the problem is within our community, the mistreatment for so long, the idea that we don't supposed to have, we don't supposed to fight, you know. So you already know your grandma and them, they say, oh, them some good white folk, don't ruffle no feathers. You know, they nice down there. So the thing is, we have to get that idea out of our head. Grandmama, ain't nobody good until we all sitting on the same playing field. That's what you got to understand, because I was watching a movie, was we talking about film. One of the reasons they use white imagery and saviors is because there are a lot of white producers that are pretty much saying, okay, yes to this character. Also, too, they want to get white, they want to cross market. They want black people to come to the film, and they want as many white people to come to the film too. So they don't want, you know, America is deep embedded in money. So my point is, I was watching a movie that Regina King produced, and the black man came to see a white dude. I think he was supposed to be Jim Brown, and the guy who played Jim Brown, he comes to see his old coach, which is a white man, and he's sitting outside with him and talking to him. And he said, all right, now they finished their conversation. So I'm about to go in and move this TV around. And Jim Brown said, well, coach, I can come in and help you. He said, you know, we don't let niggas in the house. And he went and walked inside and continued to go on what he went on. And I thought this was a really powerful scene, because this white man pretty much had sat down with him, had a good conversation with him, and they were friendly.
Loved him.
But what Malcolm said, friendly doesn't mean friends, baby. That's what we got to understand. Just because a person is friendly with you doesn't mean that they are friends with you. I wish y'all go to school. Y'all be like, a lot of black people be woke, but really, you real sleep. I can tell. I can tell from how you move. Like you like the black power, but the workings of it, you ain't really down with everything. And another thing, Dr. Boyce, is we have to learn, we don't need a 16-bedroom house. That's another thing that allows us to become advantageous in our community. We are under the impression that the only way we win is when we get a Grammy, when we get an Oscar, when we get $10 million, and we don't even know how to budget $15,000, and we think we're supposed to get $15 million. We have issues that we need to correct, and I think a small community is where we start. So then this legacy that we think about, it really will pay for. When you say, oh man, I don't have any children, but if I did, all of Madam President's children, they all died healthy, debt-free, and with lots of land.
There you go.
Never had to, go and beg anybody for any assistance, all of those things. So that's
all right. So let me jump in real quick then. And first of all, everybody, I want you to know we were talking about Joe Biden and Harriet Tubman and the $20 bill. And so our panel's gone into the night. And so what I want to do, first of all, is ask everybody, if you could, please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. Also, just as a reminder, the Women of Wealth weekend is coming up next week, the weekend of January 30th. And I won't be there because this is women's only. This is all women. Lene Javette is the host. And it's all about anything you want to do. If you are a woman and you want to learn anything about wealth, this is a great place to be. From how to make money teaching an online class to how to get your business moving, things like that. This is the page. There's Lene Javette. Constance Carter runs the largest black real estate firm in California. Vicky Dillon will be there. Some other folks, Yolanda Spivey and Simone Kassan. She's big in the cannabis industry. Charlene Boyd is a really great wedding planner. Dr. Nicole Price. There's Madam President. She'll be there. Candace Hodges, who's big in hairstyle. There's my fiance, Dr. Alicia, who is a couples counselor. They're going to do a session on financial lovemaking. And Ronique West, who actually heads the Augusta, Georgia Black Chamber of Commerce, attorney Nicole Compton, Rebecca Samuel, CPA, etc. They're going to talk about mastering your money mindset, conquering the corporate ladder, building a bulletproof business, investing your way to the top, creating a life-changing side hustle, protecting your assets, developing your money-making course online, So there's a lot going on here. So if you're interested, go to womenofwealthweekend.com. The URL's right there on the screen. Feel free to join the ladies for that event. I won't be there because it's women's only. All right, because when women are talking, we need to be quiet. Same thing is true when we go to the Black Boss channel. When men are talking, women need to be quiet. When women are talking, men need to be quiet, because we need to learn how to listen to each other instead of talking at each other. So what I'd like for every panelist to do, starting with you, Dr. Charm, is kind of give us a closing statement, right? Like, let us walk away from this conversation better with a conclusion that we can carry with us as we go off into the sunset, so that we can learn something and approach these situations more enlightened than before. So Dr. Charm, what will be your closing thought on this discussion?
I mean, my closing thought, again, I have to come at you from a health perspective. We talked about DNA trauma. We talked about being afraid and this whole plantation mentality. And I think I don't want to just talk about problems. I want to talk about solutions. And I am team mental health. I believe part of our reparations package, and hey, we might not see it, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, may he rest in peace. I might not be there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land, okay? So I might not see reparations, but I know some of my descendants are going to see it. And part of that reparations package, I feel, needs to be every Black person in America needs to have trauma-informed care, and that's a branch of psychotherapy that recognizes the effect that trauma has in forming irrational fears, irrational behavior. Everything that we have, our entire outlook and how we behave, is informed by trauma, because we as a people have experienced a trauma that's never been experienced in the history of the world. Chattel slavery, as experienced by the Black people who were enslaved in this country, in the Caribbean and all in South America and Brazil, has not been experienced by any group. And specifically Black American people, we are such a unique group, especially as Dr. Anderson says. So we've got to be on this mental health. We've got to be getting help. I am team Black therapists, because, yes, other therapists are trained and everything, but no one understands you. There's certain things that when I go in with my Black therapist, I don't have to explain certain things. There's certain things she already knows, because she's a Black therapist, because she's a Black woman, and I'm a Black woman. So I really encourage everyone to get mental health care. Please get it. And there's a specific branch of psychotherapy that's called EMDR. It was invented for Vietnam veterans, because they realized that just talking about your problems over and over again, after you've seen people blow up and all kinds of things and horrific things that they witnessed, it re-traumatizes them. So this is a branch of psychotherapy that psychologists are specifically trained on, called EMDR. And I recommend that people, if you have the access to it, look at your mental health resources and get mental health help. And as far as the physical body, because if you're eating poorly and you're eating badly, it will cause depression. It will cause symptoms of anxiety. It will cause a poor mood. It will cause all kinds of behaviors. So we've got this Quarantine Kitchen book. I'm gonna plug the book again, www.drcharmbook.com. We've got healthy recipes, myself and 11 other Black female naturopathic doctors and holistic health professionals. Please get a copy so you can be eating well and protecting yourself.
All right. Excellent. Okay, so John F. Thomas, what will be your closing remarks?
I agree with Dr. Charm. Yeah, we have to start getting more mental health, get some help for our mental, because we're going through so much. We're being traumatized all the time. Also, to touch back on with what Chanel was saying, I agree in part with what she was saying, but one thing I feel like we do need to get out of is we need to stop saying that, Black people can't get together for nothing. Black people can't get, because you keep saying that, then you are making this negative stereotype true. So we need to get out of there. We need to start, if there are plenty of people in many groups outside of the Black group that don't want to get together, but that's fine, because we're just pointing out the problems. What are the solutions? And for me, I'm tired of hearing about problems. And this is for everybody that's listening here too. Stop pointing out the problems and start trying to find the solutions. What are the solutions? If you have 10 people in your area and 8 of them don't want to work with you, but there's 2 who do, Well, ain't nobody for me to work with. Ain't nobody. I just might as well just quit. No, get with those 2 people and make something happen. Because guess what? Some of those 8 people will eventually see what y'all are doing, and they might come on board. For the others who don't, that's fine. It's just like the Harriet Tubman thing. Like either you gonna come with us to freedom, or you can stay here. But if you come with us, you ain't going back. So we have to get that mentality to where same thing like with Elon Musk, or even like with these big business. We want to have all this money and have all this wealth, but with these highly successful people, they don't have people come in and say, well, this can't be done. Or even at Apple, Steve Jobs, this can't be done. Well, look, find a way to get it done. Because I don't want to hear it can't be done. Find a way to get it done. And that's what we need to start doing. I know we have a lot of issues. I know we have a lot of things that are against us, but there are ways that we can fight back. Dr. Charm just gave one. T just gave us another one where we have to start being more politically mature. All of these things, and it's not going to happen overnight. We're going to have to do it in bite size. So that's what I agree with Chanel on. It can't just be a switch to where everything is fixed overnight. But we have to start somewhere, and we have to start being more positive towards where our outcome is going to be. Because if we keep being negative, guess what we're going to be in the next 60 years at the same spot.
All right. Jeff Lightsey Jr., your final thoughts?
Just my final thoughts are with this, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and all the Democrats running all of government, the things like the Harriet Tubman thing, like being on the $20 bill and making it a priority and stuff like that sort of symbolism and stuff is going to be like, we're going to see a lot of it, right? So just be prepared for that kind of stuff to continue to happen for over the next 4 years, right? Like, and also really watch how the words are being used. Donald Trump put Harriet Tubman to the back. So we're going to make it a priority to make sure she's on the $20 bill because he was supposed to do it and he made sure it didn't happen. And we're the Democrats, we're going to make sure it does. And so like, just be prepared and just be on your toes when that type of stuff happens, because it's going to continue to happen for at least the next 4 years. So by saying that, I'm saying this, don't allow that to encapsulate yourself into that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, that's cool. Harriet Tubman can be on a $1,000 bill. She can be on a $2 million bill. I don't care. But where is the rest? Where is the investment in our communities? Where's our check? Where's our reparations? Where is the, instead of raising awareness, because that's what a lot of these organizations like to do, is raise awareness to police brutality or raise awareness. Man, awareness is cool, but we know that cops kill us, from time to time. Like we understand that happens. So now what are we doing to fix that? Instead of just raising awareness, what are we doing to uplift our communities? And that way we're not subjugated to being the threat of police or even to ourselves, because it ain't just cops killing us, it's us killing us. So that's what I just want to prepare everybody to be prepared for all of that stuff that will continue to happen. All the symbolism will happen, but to not take the foot off the necks of your politicians that you voted in.
All right. Madam President, your final thought? You're muted.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Dr. Watkins, and the panel, all my people. Just thank you for having me. And my final thoughts are, Harriet Tubman spent years of risking her life. There was a bounty on her head, okay? Harriet Tubman was not, people wasn't like trying to invite her to have a apple pie. They wanted her dead or alive, but nothing stopped this woman from getting to freedom. And I think that if you are in support of true Harriet, then you know what freedom is, and it is something tangible. It's reparations for her children, for the people that she was going to save. It is not the imagery of her face on money that the people still don't have access to. Those are my final thoughts.
All right. So Tariq Abdul Khalik, your final thought?
Yeah, I strongly agree with everything everyone said, especially what John Thomas said about negative stereotypes causing us not to progress. And I'm going to be honest, the reason why some of our people get so excited about, Harriet Tubman being on the dollar bill, or how we are wanting, the Oscars to give more Black people awards, is because we do see white people as supreme. We see their ice is colder. Therefore, we seek their validation. We want them to say how beautiful our people are. This is why we came out in droves and voted for the Democrats, because we wanted that validation. We wanted them to say, "Oh, Black people, you saved America. You guys are gods." And to me, that it shows that there's a self-esteem issue with our own people where we don't see validation within ourselves. So the thing is, if we stop looking at white people as if they are just gods and they're just perfect beings, maybe we'll start looking inwards and working with ourselves. If they don't validate us, who cares? Create your own institutions. That's what we need to do. Create our own institutions, create our own Hollywood. Things like that where black people see other black people do good. That way we can enjoy our own self-validation. So then that way we won't have to look towards white people. And this is another reason why Ice Cube was shunned, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I truly believe he didn't get the validation of the white Democrats. To be honest with you, this is why he was shunned. So yeah, start seeing black people as supreme, and stop seeing white people as just gods who needs to be taken down in order for you to succeed. That's backwards thinking. That's why they call themselves supreme, so you can keep looking at them like that, and you never be supreme in your own life.
All right. Well, those are excellent comments. And what I'll do is I'll throw in a quick final thought. First of all, everybody, please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. This is Black Media. We hope you will help us grow. We want to make sure that these conversations are had. I'll end on a quick thought. If you think about an animal that's in a cage at the zoo, the animal only knows how to eat if the zookeeper feeds him. His method of survival is to not anger the zookeeper, because the zookeeper is going to deny him food. And when he does what the zookeeper asks him to do, he's rewarded with extra food. So he learns, similar to any other animal on the planet, that there's positive and negative reinforcement. If you do what they say, you get rewarded. If you do what they do something that they don't want you to do, you're going to be punished. And so ultimately, when you consider the fact that that we have learned, similar to that animal that's in that cage, we have learned that if we do what is asked of us from the people who control the cage, and that cage being systematic racism, white supremacy, all these institutions that we are addicted to, this validation we're addicted to, whether it's receiving a Grammy Award or a promotion on our job or the chance to live in a better neighborhood or whatever, or somebody just telling us that we're special or getting a good grade in school, we learn behavior from that, right? We learn that if I please the master, then I will be rewarded. If I upset the master, then I'll be punished. And the only time that you can break out of that, the only time that animal can actually know the freedom of self-determination and self-actualization is if they get out of the cage, right? If you get out of the cage and you have freedom, then you no longer have to be nice to the master in order to eat, because you've learned how to hunt your own food, and you get to decide when you want to eat, what you want to eat, how much you want to eat, etc. And so when you talk about this, and we talk a lot about economics and black own this and black own that, and it's not just an economic thing. You're really talking about a spiritual thing. You're really talking about something that levels you up and allows you to be the kind of man or woman who can actually fight a battle properly. I can't fight against my opponent if they design the game, control the game, make the rules of the game, and they're playing offense and defense and deciding who gets the ball and everything else. That's not going to work. Like somebody says that they're playing chess and we're playing checkers. No, somebody in the chat had it right. They said, no, we're not playing checkers. We're playing tic-tac-toe. We're playing tiddlywinks. We ain't even playing checkers, right? So the idea is that what the point I'm getting at here is this. Look, if you want to understand the number one reason why Ice Cube was a little bit different from the other celebrities, and this is what I picked up just from kind of listening to him and hearing him explain his, why he was doing what he was doing. He's not just a man who kind of knows who he is. He didn't need validation from anybody. He said in his mind, it was almost like, I know I'm Ice Cube. I don't need you to tell me that I'm significant. I decided that a long time ago. But then also, most importantly, if you pay attention, he's not like the other celebrities. The other celebrities, like, and I'm not here to disrespect Ice Cube's friend Snoop Dogg, but, a lot of these celebrities, they need their job. Let's talk about Nick Cannon so we don't make it too close to home. Nick Cannon needed those jobs, which is why Nick Cannon did a whole 180 when they put that heat on him, right? They were trying to put the same heat on Ice Cube, but there's a point you can get to where it doesn't matter if they put heat on you. You see, if you want to fight the white man to man, or woman to woman, or woman to man, whatever it is you want to do, you can't fight him properly or fight white supremacy properly if you are in a subordinate position. Like it's like military. They tell you don't let the enemy have the higher ground. Well, when you up here begging this white man for a goddamn job, you have positioned him in higher ground. This is not anti-white. This is pro-black. There's a difference. This is when you go through life constantly putting him on higher ground, then guess what? You're gonna spend your whole life on your knees praying up to him like he's Jesus. So like when Madam President said that he really has become your God and Joe Biden is Jesus Biden, that's really how people look at Joe Biden. They look at him like a Jesus because when you're praying for better opportunities, he's answering your prayers. When you're praying for that little job in the White House that so that you can tell your friends, look, mama, I made it, you're praying to him. And they know this. They know this, right? So what I'm saying to you is that you have to do a whole flip in your mindset. Don't give them the higher ground, and then you can actually fight a proper battle because right now you look kind of sad and pathetic where they literally can sit above you and pee on top of your forehead like R. Kelly, and all you know how to do is pull out an umbrella and hope that they don't pee on you too much. And I think that we're better than that. I think that we can rise above that. I think that we can be more self-determined than that. So if you want to know that one factor that distinguished what Ice Cube was doing from all the other celebrities that were too scared to take on the Democratic Party, it came down from the fact that if you look throughout the last 25 years of his career, he wasn't the guy that was in the movie. He was the guy that was making the movie. He wasn't trying to get into the sports league. He owned the sports league. There's a mindset where he always chose to position himself to have higher ground, so that when they tried to come and blackball him and attack him, because that's what Hollywood does, or that's what the Democratic Party does. They have a real tight relationship with Hollywood. They can blackball you. They couldn't do that to him, and that was very frustrating for them. So that's the moral of the story. If you want freedom in your own life, you better learn how to own something. Because if you don't own shit, then somebody's gonna own you. Period. That's what it is. All right. So thank you guys for a great conversation. I appreciate all the panelists, Dr. Charm and John F. Thomas, Jeff Lightsey Jr., and Tariq Abdul Khalik and Madam President. If everybody in the chat could please not just hit the thumbs up button, but please give a digital thank you to the panelists for a great conversation. I would appreciate that very much. And by the way, don't forget, Women of Wealth Weekend comes up the weekend of January 30th. It's going to be amazing. There's the URL, womenofwealthweekend.com. Lene Javette and Company and Madam President will be there, Vicky Dillard and a lot of wealth experts, Constance Carter, etc. So you go to womenofwealthweekend.com. And some of you were asking, how do you actually get on one of these panels? Well, if you want to send your bio, there's the email address, producer@flynubianmedia.com. And Taryn will get your email and she'll file and take a look at it. And we will decide who to invite for panels and things like that. So thank you. Have a good night, everybody. And we